Hello guys, welcome to another video with Gamers Class. This is Dota here, and I'll be going over the 5 top heroes for the 7.29 gameplay patch. I've personally played against these heroes, I've played them myself, and I feel like they're quite strong in the current patch, and you'll definitely have a higher win rate playing these heroes, and I'll be teaching you exactly how to play them as well. So without any further ado, let's get right into the video.
If you like this type of content, go to gamersclass.com. For just $9.99 a month, watch masterclasses with pro players, join exclusive live sessions, and get 24/7 access to coaches and other high MMR players. Get full control of your ranked games and start owning with our Supreme Dota 2 membership.
So the first hero is Beastmaster, guys. Beastmaster is overall very strong in this patch. If you guys know that Ags has been buffed on the Beastmaster, you just simply buy an Agnums and you have no cooldown on your axes, and your axes do more damage. So you're potentially dealing a lot of damage from a far distance, but that is not one of the many reasons why Beastmaster is so strong at mid. Mostly in this patch, the water runes until the 4-minute mark are very strong. So as a Beastmaster, what you do is you get the boar and you put the boar at one water rune and you go for the other water rune yourself. Okay, and what this does is this puts your enemy mid laner in a weird spot. He has to literally walk up to the water rune before it spawns, otherwise your boar is going to deny it. So he's going to feel very pressured into getting these water runes. Normally what happens at the mid lane is that like you get the top one and the enemy just sees, okay, you're going top, so nobody can contest the bottom one, I'll go to the bottom one later on. But with the boar coming into play, the enemy has to always rush to the rune, and he actually misses a few creeps if this happens. So overall, Beast is very strong when it comes to controlling runes and controlling the map as well. You can also use this call of the Wild Hawk to see if the bounty runes have been picked, if there's any stacks in the enemy jungle. There's just so much you can get done with the hawk and the boar, and at the same time you're not committing anything. You're not really putting yourself in a bad spot to give your team vision. You can use the hawk, tell your team, hey, we see this guy farming here, let's go smoke. You use your roar, you kill them. But the idea of the hero, guys, is to max your wild axes, max your boar and the hawk, use hawk for vision, use boar for pressuring enemy for runes, and just pressuring and slowing them in the lane, using axes to push out waves and farming faster, getting ags, then maybe a bots or a blink dagger, and then you see how the game leads you. You can buy a lot of items on this hero: Lotus Orb, Bloodstone for damage amplification, maybe a Singe and Kaya. Again, you can buy a lot of items, but the main core items for this hero is ags and blink dagger. Once you have ags, this has no cooldown on it, absolutely no cooldown, and the damage is increased by 30. And the more you hit axes on someone, okay, the damage amplifies. Damage amp per stack 6%, 8%, 10%, and 12%. So the damage amp stacks a lot, and you do more damage every time you land those axes. So in short, the way you want to play is use axes to push waves, use your boar to pressure enemy, use hawk to control the map, use roar to get pickoffs, and with these pickoffs you can easily get Roche, tower, because you have a lot of attack speed with the inner beast, and just play really fast with your team. That's pretty much it, and I personally believe that Beastmaster is the strongest and the most broken hero in the patch right now, not just at mid but overall on offlane. And I think you can play this hero on pause 5 and 4 as well, but it's more or less a pause 2 or pause 3 hero, and it is very strong with the Ags. Next up on the list is Leshrac, guys. Leshrac is very strong in the current patch. It was actually quite strong in the previous patch as well. The only changes that have been done to Lesh is that the radius on the Pulse Nova has been increased, cast point on the Lightning Storm has been also increased, and the shard pulse count, the Magnum shard pulse count has been increased from 2 to 3. So in team fights, your stun will basically recur for 3 times rather than 2 times. So why is Leshrac so broken? Well, for starters, in any given pub game, your objectives are to get towers faster, right? The faster you get towers, the easier the game is. And as a Lesh, you can do this. Another thing that you want to do in any pub game is push lanes faster. And guess what? You can do it with all your spells as a Lesh. With your stun, with your lightning storm, with your Nova, even the diabolic edict. You can push the waves really fast. And you can push towers really fast as well. And this actually changes a lot of things for your team if you get enemy towers fast. For example, if you're laning, say, a Storm as a Lesh, the Storm, yes, he can get a lot of pickoffs, but he can never pressure towers, right? He can absolutely never pressure towers. That's just how the hero works. But as a Lesh, not only do you pressure heroes, not only do you kill heroes, but you actually kill towers as well. So this just automatically gives you an advantage over almost every enemy mid laner. Almost every. Like Storm, Cop, Invoker, OD, these heroes don't really pressure a tower. And when you can, it just gives you an advantage, and you can abuse this advantage. Get tier 1s fast on the map and put your enemy in the bad spot and open up the map for your team. How do you normally play Lesh? You go into the lane, you try to pressure the enemy as much as possible, and you can actually use your stun to secure range creeps as well. And while you're securing range creeps, you can try to harass the enemy at the same time with the stun or the lightning storm. It really depends on which build you're going for. You can also go for the build where you max diabolic edict, and with that build it goes like you max your split earth and you max your edict only. You go for 2 levels in stun, 3 levels in edict, and 1 level in ultimate at level 6. So what happens is, once you have 3 levels in edict, you push the wave with Pulse Nova, and you just pressure the enemy tower with edict. And since you're doing so much damage with the edict on and the Pulse Nova on, the enemy will never commit onto you until there's another support coming in. So it just depends on how you want to play the lane. I personally like to do both. If I want to get solo kills on the enemy, I go for Lightning Storm and Split Earth. But if I want to pressure the tower, I just max Edict and Split Earth, use stuns for CS and harassing, and the Edict to pressure tower. Once you're done with all these shenanigans, pressuring towers and stuff, you want to buy Euls. Once you have Euls, you could go for a Bloodstone, BKB, or bots to control the map. It really depends on the game, but Euls is really good as a first item to set up the enemy for stuns, get solo pickoffs, and just have extra movement speed and mana regeneration. Once you have Euls, you can actually just start going for pickoffs. Once you have those pickoffs, you could actually lead those pickoffs into a tower, or maybe just farming more with your Pulse Nova. So overall, I believe Lesh is a really strong hero in the current patch. It was strong in the last patch as well. I've personally had a really good time playing this hero. I've won most of the games that I've played recently as Leshrac, and I highly recommend you to try it out as well. Next up on the list is Outworld Destroyer, guys, or should I say OD. OD is overall a very strong laner, guys, and for many reasons. One, you basically never run out of mana as an OD now, since the Essence Flux will give you mana all the time. So the way OD works now is that you can use Arcane Orb regardless of how much mana you have. Even if you have 1 mana, you can use the Arcane Orb. And every time you use the Arcane Orb, there's a chance of Essence Flux restoring your mana by 50%, and the chance is 30%. So all you gotta do in the lane is constantly use Arcane Orb on the enemy, and eventually you will have mana. However, you will get harassed by the enemy a lot, and for that you want to buy Tango's, Salve, or any kind of regen in the lane. And if you buy HP regen, you will never run out of mana, and the enemy will just feel really pressured in the lane because the enemy has to buy mangoes or a bottle or other regen items to sustain themselves. As an OD, you will never run out of mana and you can harass them really hard. Apart from harassing the enemy and having a lot of mana, this hero can deny a lot of creeps using Astral. So it's really simple. Even if you're laning a 10k MMR player, what is he gonna do when you Astral him and deny his creeps? Nothing, right? Like in this scenario, if you look at it, I deny this creep, then I can just potentially Astral him or Astral creeps, secure creeps, and just have a way better laning stage than he does, right? If you look at it right now, he has 6 CS and I have like 13 CS. So apart from harassing and securing creeps with Astro, it also takes away a lot of mana from the enemy. You're basically stealing 22% at level 7 mana capacity steal. You're taking away that mana. So if you do the math, not only are you taking away mana from the enemy, but you're actually getting it as well, right? So eventually, once you've used your Astral twice on the enemy, you have enough mana to just solo kill him. You have more mana, he has less mana, he's also taking damage from the Astral, and all you really gotta do is pop that Eclipse on him, and he dies. He just straight up dies. It does a lot of damage. So as an OD, I believe it's very easy to win your lane. Unless you are really hard countered by a TA or maybe a Queen of Pain that just does a lot of harassment in the lane. Otherwise, this hero is a very strong laner, and that's why I highly recommend playing this hero at the mid lane. Apart from being a strong laner, the hero does a lot of pure damage, so it scales really good into the late game. I personally prefer buying Witchblade on the hero. So with the Witchblade, you do a lot of right click damage and you just simply carry your team with the right click damage. But there's also other builds that you can go for. You can buy a Meteor Hammer so you can pressure towers, and I mean, it's the traditional build where you Astral people, use Meteor Hammer, they get stunned and they take a lot of damage. You can also go for Ags, where you buy Ags and you have 2 Astrals on you. The new Ags now does damage in an AoE. It also increases damage by 140, and the cast point has been overall increased in the new patch. So with the Ags, you do 500 damage on your Astral, and you do it in an AoE, which is crazy. So Ags is good, Meteor Hammer is good, Witchblade is also good. It really depends on the game and how you want to play. I personally go for the Witchblade build, and sometimes I go for the Ags build as well. I'm not a big fan of the Meteor Hammer build anymore because, well, I don't know. It's just a personal preference at this point. So, in short, how do you play OD? You harass the enemy with Arcane Orb or secure ranged creeps with Arcane Orb. You harass the enemy with Astral Imprisonment and at the same time deny creeps and secure creeps. You also abuse the Essence Flux and never run out of mana in the lane and constantly harass the enemy, just making sure that you are ahead in terms of regen. And once you have your ultimate, try to Astral the enemy every time you see him. He will take loads of damage, he will give you mana, and once you feel like he is below half HP, just pop your ultimate on him and he will die. That will give you an advantage, and you will eventually win the game if you win your lane, as long as you don't throw. If you can look at the CS chart right now, the Stinker is 8 CS and I have 23 CS in this particular game. Why? Astral is absolutely broken. It's as simple as that. And if you really look at it, I've personally had a really good time playing OD in the current patch. I've got 5 wins in a row. Yes, I did have like 6 losses in a row as well, but that was before I figured out my personal build, which is the Witchblade build. I was going for the Meteor Hammer build and I realized it's not good for pubs, at least for me. So, yep, that is how you play OD, and I would highly recommend trying this hero out in your pubs. Let me know in the comments how it goes out for you. Next up on the list, guys, is Storm Spirit. Storm Spirit has been very strong in almost every patch of Dota, and there's a lot of reasons why. Storm, just like most mid laners, pushes out waves really fast with the Remnant, and once the game goes late, Storm has the potential to carry the game on its own with long jumps and catching enemy out of position. So in pubs, people just play really mindlessly, and as a Storm, you can actually abuse this quite hard. You can easily just jump and kill people out of position and catch them when they don't have buybacks, or at least when you kill them, you can force buybacks. Apart from being really strong at catching heroes and pressuring them on the map, Storm is overall a very strong laner for many reasons, and one of those many reasons is you can use the Remnant to simply secure CS. There's not a single hero that can outplay this play, which is just use a Remnant on the creeps and you will get that creep. It does not require a lot of mana because it only requires you 70 mana to use it at level 1, and it does 120 damage at level 1. So there's not a single mid laner that has 120 damage to deny creeps. Your Remnant will obviously do more damage, and you will easily secure the creeps. While you're securing the creeps with Remnant, you will get an overload charge, which you can use on the enemy to pressure them really hard. So the reason why I feel like Storm is so broken is because you're securing creeps with static Remnant, and at the same time you're harassing the enemy as well with overload. It gives you the best of both worlds, securing creeps and harassing the enemy. So once you've been done with the laning stage, once you've secured enough creeps with Remnant, once you've harassed the enemy enough, the idea of playing Storm is to buy Orchid as soon as possible. Once you have the Orchid on you, you can easily solo kill any hero on the map. All you really gotta do is jump onto the enemy with Orchid, pull them, use Remnant on them, keep zipping, keep hitting them until they die. It's as simple as that. There's really no rocket science to it, and you can do it on the map constantly. This will actually pressure the enemy a lot. Once you get your Orchid on Storm, the enemy is gonna have a lot of mental pressure just even showing up on the lane. And heroes like PL, Weaver, Juggernaut, these squishy heroes that don't really like to rush Manta early on, will die like creeps to you. They give a lot of gold and experience, so you can abuse this gold and experience into scaling into a better item, such as BKB or Bloodstone, depending on the game. You either go for BKB when the enemy have a lot of lockdown, but if they don't, you could go for a Bloodstone and snowball out of control. Bloodstone is probably the best item for Storm in the game because it gives you damage amplification, and it also gives you mana regeneration, which is nice, and then it gives you some HP to make you tanky, which is also very nice for a Storm Spirit. So overall, I personally think Storm is one of the best mid laners in the current patch, and it has been for a very long time in the previous patches as well, just because of the dynamics of the hero. It is really good for pub games, and you should try it out in your pubs. Let me know what you feel about the hero. Let me know what you think about the hero and how it goes for you in your pubs. Last but not the least is Ember Spirit, guys. Now, Ember Spirit, again, just like Storm, has been a very strong mid laner in almost every patch. And just like Storm, it also has this pretty much the same dynamics, only it's more annoying and more active with his spells. You basically can go in and out of team fights and do a lot of damage as you go in and out. Apart from doing a lot of damage in team fights, you can actually have a lot of control on the map with your Remnants. You can put your Remnants on the runes, you can put the Remnant in a certain lane, TP somewhere else, take a fight over there, go back to the Remnant, push the lane. There's just so much you can do as an Ember Spirit on the map, and it just makes it really annoying for the enemy while you do this. Apart from having a lot of presence with the Remnant on the map. You can use your Flame Guard to push waves really fast. And as you're doing it, you feel really less pressure because it's really hard to burst down Ember Spirit, who has a Flame Guard on. You basically absorb 500 damage coming in from the enemy. You can also use your Sleight to constantly do damage to the enemy and just zone them out of the lane. Pop your Flame Guard, use Sleight, and secure creeps and harass the enemy at the same time. While your chains will help you get solo kills and just control enemies in team fights, the hero overall just looks very strong. From the laning stage till team fights, into the mid game, into the late game. It gets a lot of things done. So apart from having a really strong laning stage, the hero itself can go for really different builds, such as Maelstrom, such as Agnums, such as Deso. It really depends on how the game is going for you. I personally recommend going Maelstrom into BKB or Maelstrom into Ags. With the Ags, you get 5 Remnants, and that's insanely huge as an Ember Spirit. 5 Remnants means you can just travel almost anywhere on the map using those Remnants one by one, and gives you a lot of control on the map, and you can join any team fight you like, and you can also use those Remnants for extra damage depending on how you want to use them. So again, overall, Maelstrom into Ags or Maelstrom into BKB. You could go for Deso into BKB, into Daedalus. Again, really depends on the game. But the idea is to constantly harass the enemies in team fights with your Sleight of Fist, chain them, catch them, constantly pressure them, and also meanwhile not committing. As an Ember Spirit, you want to annoy the enemy to the point where they just can't catch you, but you're also doing a lot of damage to them at the same time, if that makes sense. Harassing with Sleight and never committing. If you can do these two things in your pubs as an Ember Spirit, you will win games. You will absolutely win way more than you lose. So my overall conclusion on Ember Spirit is that it's definitely a strong hero. It's not a hero that you want to overlook or undermine in your pubs. You can get a lot done as you play the hero, as you scale into the game. You can potentially hit 5 heroes with your Sleight if they're standing together. You can potentially chain 2 heroes. And like I said, you can just get a lot done. So that's pretty much it for the top 5 mid lane heroes in the current patch, guys. I will be making a few more other videos about these heroes. I think I'll be going in depth as to exactly how to play these heroes, exactly what to do and stuff like that. So stay tuned for this kind of content. And yep, that's pretty much it for the video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, Shizzy Dota signing out.